Hey everybody, it's me, Aggie, and this is our Sparkly Chandelier class. Yay! So I missed you guys. We had our art retreat and it was so much fun. But you know what? It's good to be back in the routine, back at home again. And I don't know, I just always miss you guys. So I'm hopping on just a couple minutes early to make sure everything went smoothly. I almost forgot how to do everything. No, I'm kidding. Well, kind of. So it doesn't look like we have anybody here yet. I didn't make a banner. Let's make a banner for this is Sparkling Chandelier. And it's the first video getting started. So if you have any questions, by all means, post them in the comments here. Show. Okay. And it's not scrolling yet. But anyway, that's what this is. This is our getting started video. It's also a welcome video. Hopefully we'll get some people that are not necessarily in the Painter's Journey membership. If you purchase this class a la carte, welcome to our world of acrylic painting, glass, and resin, and all things sparkly, right, my friends? And I am not seeing any comments. So let me just post something here. Can you hear me? Oh, there they are. It's funny, as soon as I posted a comment, the comments popped up. So hi, Sylvia, Teresa. Hello, Linda. How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. So I had this one idea to do on the Sparkly Chandelier. And then this morning I woke up super early. And you guys can hear me, right? It says that my comment is still posting. Okay, thank you, Teresa. I woke up like, I'm not even going to tell you. Well, I'll tell you. I think it was 1:30 in the morning. And I'm like, okay, because I don't know, my sleep timing is just off. So I thought, okay, hey, Donna. I don't know. So I came downstairs. I haven't really been in the studio. Yesterday I had a terrible migraine. I never get them anymore. I used to get migraines when I was an art director and I had this high-powered corporate job. It wasn't that high-powered. But man, I had a doozy and I just knew I couldn't handle light in my eyes. So here I am today with the light in my eyes, but I think I'm going to do okay. So anyway, I came down here in the studio and I just started playing around with things, and I started playing around with AI images for the Sparkly Chandelier. And I plugged in a description of, I wanted it to generate an image for me, you know, artificial intelligence to generate an image for me. And at first I got some decent ones and I shared all of them in the classroom. I don't know if you had a chance to look through them. And then I changed my description and added a little bit more to it and got some much better ones. So that's how I got this image, and I just fell in love with it. Let me make myself bigger on the screen here. Hold on. Will this work? So look, I mean, isn't it pretty? Oh my God, I just fell in love with this. I mean, if you can really see all those colors and the way the crystals look, and this is just exactly the feel that I wanted to get with the dots, and it's a little bit loose. So this is exactly what I envisioned. I mean, it really is pretty much what I was envisioning, and I like the color in the background ceiling or whatever that is. I love how that looks. I really just love everything about it, and this is what we're going to do. This is our reference image, and it's also going to be the tracer. So sometimes it's good to get up early and just play around with stuff, right? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So now this is a 20 by 20, okay? And let me just say that the bubbles, you know what we used to call them bubbles. Do you guys still call them bubbles? Let me grab what I'm talking about. These things from Michael's that look like they're about, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch in diameter. You know, these things. Gosh, it's hard to, is that showing? Is that even showing? These things. Yeah, I guess it's kind of showing. I had it up too high. These fit perfectly on these dots that you see here. So, you know, oftentimes it's the glass that dictates the size that you might need. The back of my hair looks terrible. I didn't flat iron all of my hair all the way through. Can you tell? But sometimes it's the size of the glass and the beads that you have that are going to dictate how big you need to make your art. Don't be intimidated about doing a big painting. Hey, Tammy, how are you doing, girl? But these fit pretty nicely on here. I have some other, and I think Tara shared a link with me on some other like discs like this. So I've got the next size up that I'm going to probably use too. But you could even just use little chunks of glass, just little chunks, square chunks of glass. I wouldn't worry about it. That's what's going to be so neat about this is just chunks of glass is what we're going to use on this. Clear glass. So at any rate, it's going to be the tracer too. So I have a tracer that's 16 by 20 of my original design, which you can certainly do if you'd like. If you think you can interpret these colors that are on this one, but you'd rather do it on a 16 by 20 and use this tracer, then by all means. It might be a little confusing. I don't know. I don't think this is really going to fit on a 16 by 20 because it's 20 by 20. You could, I suppose you could do this one and pull it over to the side if you wanted to, or maybe we could shrink it down and see how it looks. We'll figure that out. You let me know what you want to do. Hi, Denise. How are you? Hi, Aggie and all the ladies. Remember the guy from Saturday Night Live? Ladies. So anyway, all right. So tell me what your thoughts are on that, on the size. Do you think you want to do a 16 by 20? That's the piece of wood. That's what I have on my desktop over here. And I just ordered a set of two 20 by 20 cradled wooden panels from Amazon. It was $49. So it's $25 a piece. They've gone up, but that's what it's going to cost, I think, for a really, and these are really good quality. And they were also the gallery depth. I shared the link for that so that you'll know exactly what I used. So you guys, I'm definitely, if you're totally new to glass and resin art, I definitely want you to use a cradled wooden panel because it's going to support the glass and the resin so much better than a canvas, and it's easier to resin, and you're just going to love it so much more. Right, you guys? Isn't the wood so much better? I think so. Tell me what questions or what kind of things do any of you all run into with prepping your panels? Do you run into any issues, you guys? Denise says, watch for Amazon Black Friday deals. Yes, that's a great idea. There might be some really good deals going on. And Denise says she loves the wood substrate. Yeah, I really do too. And what's the one, the America one? Let me just look really quick on Amazon. It's like, I forgot what it's called. See, you know, you get out of touch for a little bit and you forget the names of things. And okay, wood panels. I'm looking on Amazon real quick. And I didn't. Okay, so Blick Studio is really, really good quality. I didn't type panels right. I typed the O instead of a P. Arteza is pretty good quality, and also, I'm not really on Amazon, am I? That's what's wrong. Let me go on Amazon. Why am I not on Amazon? I thought I was. Okay, cradled wood panels. All right, so Falling in Art, that's the one. Falling in Art is an excellent brand, excellent quality. There's no funkiness about it. If you don't want to, I mean, I got tired of messing around with sub-quality brands that had chips and funky stuff going on. I don't have anybody got time for that. So that's what I do. I order the stuff that I know, has good reviews and it's good quality. The other one that's really good is US Art Supply. So Falling in Art and US Art Supply are my favorite ones, just FYI. Now, the other thing that I'm going to recommend that you do is to seal that wood with GAC 100 by Golden. And the reason for that is, hey, Darlene, hey, Linda. And the reason for that is, and I would do 2 or 3 coats. The reason for that is that it seals the wood, which is going to help with the resin later on so that the air doesn't come through. And it prevents any tannins, which is, whether tannins, the oil in the wood, whatever is naturally in the wood, it won't seep through later on. It provides a protective barrier to make your art more professional and long lasting. And so that's what I'm going to recommend, that you start with that. Now, the very first thing you should do is check over your wood substrate, make sure there's no dings, dents. Sometimes there's like a piece of wood, a little splinter of wood may have come off of somewhere and glued somewhere else. And so if you run your fingers across, you can feel it and you can probably sand that off. Let me go back here and make the one screen larger. I got a mouse pad from my trip, during my trip. Look how cute. Oh, I guess I can take the banner down. And it's great having this mouse pad. I've needed a mouse pad for probably 5 years. Isn't that ridiculous? And I finally got one. It's like, where do you get mouse pads? I guess I could have ordered one on Amazon. So real quick, let's just go through some of the supplies for getting started. Obviously, you're going to need a wood substrate, and I'm going to show you how to prepare this in just a minute. The paints that we're going to be using are, you don't have to use Golden fluid acrylics. You could use heavy body, but definitely Golden's Payne's Gray is this gorgeous color that you see back here. This is the 20 by 20 tracer. It is the actual image that I tiled onto a 20 by 20 for you. So it prints to size, just print it at 100%. But this blue that you see here is Payne's Gray, straight up beautiful Payne's Gray. And cobalt blue is pretty much this blue that you see here. And then we've got these beautiful amber colors. So we're going to use raw sienna and Titan buff to get those colors. You might need to get just a little bit more yellow, but I'm telling you right now that this yellow is not the right yellow for that. This is a deeper, more golden yellow. So I wouldn't really use this. I would use, if you want to splurge and get yourself another color, either get yourself Indian yellow or, oh, not this one. Well, Azo Gold would probably work too. Azo Gold I've recommended before. Or see how this is a much more golden yellow, this Naples yellow hue. Any of these would work really well if you want to get this deeper yellow that you see in there, but it's not absolutely necessary. If you've got the raw sienna, that'll work too. Okay. And then we've got a warm brown and a cool brown. That's the difference between burnt umber and burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is actually a red, believe it or not. It's a very muted brownish red, but it's a red nonetheless. And the burnt umber, when you mix burnt umber light with Payne's Gray, you get a beautiful dark, rich black grayish color, which we're going to need some of that contrast in this to really make the golden lights pop. Contrast is always our best friend when it comes to painting. And then I don't know if I mentioned the other blue is phthalo blue green shade. Was that all the colors? I think that was all of them. So let me, I just took a photo of all this and shared it in the group. So you don't need to write it down or anything, but these are all the colors. Okay, and then we're going to use gesso for white, the GAC 100, of course, and I really love this spray mister bottle. I'm going to show you why I use this in just a second. I use this to keep my paints moist on my palette. I use a very simple grab and go palette. I don't make a big deal out of it. I just squirt out what I need and mist it every now and then, and it works fine for me. That's what I usually do. Mostly because I'm demonstrating and I don't want to take up a lot of space with a big old palette. I'm going to show you how to do the tracer in a minute also. So here's my substrate, right? And it looks pretty good. I run my fingers across and I turn it over. I look at all the sides. Sometimes there's little fibers that are sticking off the edges. I'm checking the back. I mean, this is absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with this one. It's so perfect. But what you could do is lightly spray mist it, like very lightly. I'm holding it at a distance, and let that kind of soak in just a bit. And that's going to raise the grain just a bit. I'm just doing this to feel it. If you put moisturizer on your hands, don't touch your can. Don't touch this. Don't touch this. Do. Don't touch this. You don't want to get oils and finger oils on here, skin oils. Try to avoid that. And all I'm going to do is very lightly sand it. Very, very lightly. I raise the grain just a little bit. And then I'm going to also do the sides same way. Okay. So I don't think you need to see me do that, but that's what I always do. And I really scrutinize all my edges and all that good stuff. All the edges. Usually there's just a couple little fibers hanging off these corners or something, you know. And then I go take it over to my other table where I've got my cordless screw drills. Oops, come back, focus. And I'm going to put a hanger. I'll put a hanger on the back. I'll find the center and put a, whatchamacallit, hanger on the back. I'm forgetting the name of it. Then, now I've done some different things at different times. You could paint the sides first and let that dry for a couple hours so that you can then tape it off. I'm not really too worried. I want to paint my sides dark. I'm going to use Payne's Gray. So, of course, the very first thing you do is seal it with the 3 coats of GAC 100, 2 or 3 coats of this. And let that dry a couple of hours. Okay, that's the first step. Then I would paint the sides or stain them, whatever it is you're going to do, sides only, and let that dry, and then you can tape them off so that you don't get anything else on them. And then for the front, you can gesso the front, or you can do your base layer of paint, which is sometimes called a ground color. I think it would be a good idea to put white on here, just maybe 1 or 2 coats of white gesso. Gesso can be a little bit pricey. You could use latex white house paint if you wanted to. Sometimes I do that. And that is all I do to prep it. So it would be sealed. It would have the hanger on the back. Sides are painted and taped. And then the front has 2 coats of gesso. So that's a lot of work. It takes a couple of days to do all that. But that's what I do. And I get that all done a little bit ahead of time. How about you guys? What do you guys do? Share with us if you would, please. What do you do to prep? Hey, Liz, what do you guys do to prep your wood substrates? Do you do pretty much the same thing that I have shared, I would imagine? I can't, I mean, I guess I could do that on this one. I don't think it's really necessary. If you've got specific questions, throw them in the chat right now. If you're watching on replay, by the way, these replays will stay in here forever. And if you save the playlist, I will share the playlist in the group. Always, always save the YouTube playlist because then you will have forever access, or however long YouTube lets me leave the videos up. You'll have forever access if you save that YouTube playlist. And I typically include that YouTube playlist on the cover of the PDF download that I include when you purchase the class. Right now, this class isn't even listed on any websites yet. We're kind of building this class as we go, but it will be listed. There will be a PDF and all the good stuff, all the things. So anybody want to share anything that they do to prep? If not, I'm going to move on to the tracer. Okay, I'm just going to move on to the tracer then. If you've got something to share, throw it in the comments. And did I mention, so I like using a wood, I think a wood block kind of works better. If you don't have a wood block, just, you know, a fine sandpaper like 180 works really well too. Okay. All right, moving on. The tracer looks like this, the 20 by 20. And I hope that you will do a 20 by 20. I hope you'll do it on wood. Go ahead and pop for the $50 for 2 of these gorgeous substrates. You're not going to regret it. And if you have a bigger piece, and you know, really 20 by 20 isn't really that big, but having a slightly bigger piece like this is really going to attract some attention to your art, especially if you're doing a show. You want to have some larger pieces. This table got wet from my misting. So all I do with the tracer is I print it out. Now, if you want me to show you where these are, let me really quick show you inside the group so that you know where to get the PDFs and where to get the downloads and all that good stuff. Oh, I forgot to put my screen back on the big one. Denise says, I do the same thing as you, Andy. Okay, yay. Linda says, I still use 2X before using white gesso to prep. Yeah, the 2X, great idea. So the 2X is a spray. Let me grab that. It's a spray, right? I think it, yeah. Oops, knocked something over. So, you know, good old Rust-Oleum, which I believe, I know they're in Wisconsin here. I don't know where they're originally from. I think they're a Wisconsin or an Illinois company. It seems like I've known Rust-Oleum my whole life, but Rust-Oleum has a spray primer and they also have a spray sealer. So if sprays work better for you, they are really convenient. You don't have to clean a brush afterwards and they dry pretty quick. Sprays don't always work for me. I'm in southern Wisconsin and it's cold half the year, so I can only use sprays half the year. But yeah, that's a great idea. So she's talking about not the primer. Linda was talking about the sealer, and you can find that on Amazon. Okay, so let me put this back. All right, so I'm just going to go into the group super quick and show you where you can find files and things. I do prep several at the same time. That's a good idea, doing several at the same time. You know, make sure you've got a nice empty table somewhere where you can just do all of them at once. And some days that's all I feel like doing. I really get into prep days. Does anybody else get into prep days? I don't know why. It can be fun sometimes, but you got to be in the mood for it. Okay, so I have to share my screen. I have to make sure I have, well, do I want to have, I'm kind of wigging out right now. Can I have 2 of the page open? I guess I can. I'm talking to myself. Okay, Sparkly Chandelier. I hope it's okay to have 2 Facebook windows open. And now I'm going to go into StreamYard here. Oh, where's my arrow? I'm going to share my screen. All right, let's go back to this. And I'm just going to share my screen. Just want to show you where Am I in the right thing? No. I don't think I'm in the right thing. Hold on. I don't know what you just saw. This one. Maybe. Share. Okay. So we are looking at the page, right? I believe. And at the very top, there's all these different tabs: discussion, guides, featured, etc. All the way to the right, it says files. If you click on files, it shows you all of the PDFs that I have uploaded into the group. So at the very bottom, there's one called How to Cut Glass and Resin PDF. Now, that is a bonus deal for you. There's a couple of classes in there actually, and it goes into more detail on glass cutting and mixing and pouring resin. So that's another group and a couple more classes. Go check that out if you haven't. And so that's in there. And then there's the tracer, the 16 by 20 tracer. Here is the page with the that you can print off to mix your colors and do your color practice like I'm going to be doing with you on this session. And then there's a the actual reference image itself as a PDF, and then the 20 by 20 tracer. So all of that is in there, and later on the PDF workbook will be in there as well. So that's where you get them from. You just need to click on that with the 3 dots. Depends on what device you're on as to exactly how to download it. But you need to download it and put it on your device or your computer. And I would suggest you make a file folder, name it Sparkly Chandelier, and all that. Oh, I just realized the title on my graphic says Sparkling Chandelier instead of Sparkly. Oh, well. C'est la vie. Okay, let's stop sharing. Did that show up okay, you guys? I didn't check it. Oh, my mouse is being just a little bit wiggy. Somebody let me know if that showed up okay. I hope it did. Okay, so here is how we are going to assemble the tracer. It's super easy, you guys. The way that I set this up, the image butts right up. Each page just butts right up to the next page. So I can literally just turn this over like this and tape the back together and just line it up top to bottom and put some Scotch tape on here. Okay, good. Thank you, Linda. Glad it showed. Some days it doesn't work. And, you know, I like taking the time to do this because you never know when you might want to do another one of these. And, you know, you can save all of these in a file folder, you know, have an actual file folder somewhere in your studio or file cabinet or something, and come back to these and use them again and again as tracers. Okay, so there's the top, right? Now for the bottom, it's these 3. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tape these 2 to each other first. And then we will practice our color mixes. So tell me in the comments, you guys, have you been doing any practice color mixing on all these classes that we do? And if not, do you run into issues later on, or does it help you? Somebody let me know what you think about that. I know it helps me, and if it helps me, and I've been painting a long time and I still can be off on colors. So I'm thinking, well, if it helps me so much, it's got to be helping them, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna tape these 2 strips together, the top and the bottom. And I can fold these later. I can fold this up. I mean, it won't be perfect, but it's okay. You know, I can fold this and put it in my file folder later. I suppose you could use like packing tape on this, you know, the wide strip of packing tape if you wanted to. And then I just take this over to my table where I've got a giant cutting mat and I just trim the outside. So anyway, there it is. There is our tracer, and it's also our reference image at the same time. So that's kind of cool, right? I do your color mixing before the project helps for sure. Good, good, good. Okay. So tell me, what colors did you think might be used for this, you guys? Did you think, wow, how am I going to get that golden yellow, or probably by now, you know, like this color, these dark colors in here is just a combination. Like I can tell by looking at that it's Payne's gray with brown mixed together to get that beautiful, rich, dark color in there. And, you know, this really bright blue is the cobalt. And I know not all of you, you know, you may not all have cobalt. And if you don't, just use the phthalo blue green shade. You know, it'll work just as well. I mean, we are going to use some of that anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead and start doing some color mixing, right? So I'm just going to maybe fold this over like this, and we will refer to this as we are going along, right? Okay. Let me do it this way or something. I don't know. This seems to have a lot of colors on there, right? Okay. So I am going to get out my sheet. Now I did do just a little bit of practicing before I went live, even because I was so curious about the greens. I do love the little hints of greens that are coming in on here. And of course, if you mix blues and yellows, you'll get that. But I thought I would try teal, and I really liked what I got here by adding teal, which is, of course, is another color that I didn't mention, but it's not essential, but you might consider using this. So, and also some of the reference images, the AI images I shared, had a little hints of purple. And you could certainly put some hints of purple if you wanted to by adding some quinacridone magenta. That would be a really great alternative to kind of make it your own. And Linda says that she does the color mixing practice also. Yay! Good, good, good. Okay. All right. So let's get some of these paints out. Let's do the yellows first. So one thing I noticed is when you need a cleaner yellow, use the white mixed in, or a cleaner blue, because we're going to use Titan Buff when we want a muted mixture of a blue or a yellow, and we're going to use white when we want it to be cleaner and brighter. I hope that makes sense. You'll hopefully I'll be able to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's white, Titan Buff, and raw sienna. And I'll put some burnt sienna here. Here's some burnt umber light. Then we'll switch over into our blues. I'm going to put my cobalt and my phthalo blue and my Payne's gray. So see how quick it is to get your paints out? That's one reason why I really do love the fluid paints and these easy flip top bottles. That was one of the things that just annoyed me to no end when I was using tube paints. That's just me though. Okay, so I'm just going to use a round brush. You know, this is like a size 8 round. And I just mix with my brush because it's just quicker. So where are my sheets that I printed out? I printed out a bunch. Okay, here they are. Okay, so let me just check comments real quick, see how we're doing. Hey, Terry, why do we sometimes use the liquid golden paints and sometimes the tubes? I always use the fluid paints. The only time I might use a tube paint is just color selection. Maybe I had it in a tube and I didn't have it in the fluid. But the reason why some people prefer tube paints is that they are a heavy body. They're a different viscosity. So they're a little bit thicker. And if you like more body and like almost texture in your paint brush strokes, you would use heavy body. But you know, I don't really see the point in doing that since we resin our work. That's just me. You know. So, all right, let's try for these yellows that we see in here. If we get our raw sienna and mix some Titan Buff with it, we get this beautiful color here, right? Let me get a napkin. So just start mixing little swatches to see what you get. I'm going to also try to remember to write this down. My problem is I always forget to write it down. So this is Titan and raw sienna. And then you might compare, well, what happens if I mix white with raw sienna? Just white with raw sienna. How different will that look from that? It should look cleaner. So this is white with raw sienna. So it's definitely lighter and cleaner looking. So maybe this is the color that we've got over here. Okay, you could even, of course, you might opt for Titan Buff by itself. This is just straight Titan Buff. Or what if you mix Titan Buff with white? That would be like a super light color, but again, it's another alternative. So here's white with Titan, just really light. This is just Titan, and this is white and Titan. So we're going from, you know, like a off-white to a richer yellowy white to an even richer yellow, and maybe want to get just a little bit warmer. If you want to get a little bit, you know, change your value, get just a little bit darker rather, you would add just a little bit of your burnt sienna. So I'm going to add some burnt sienna to this. That was just a super tiny bit. Let's add a little bit more. And we can put that here. And you can start to see that it looks like those colors that I'm getting over there. So that, what I usually do is put an arrow with that plus burnt sienna. And then it starts to get even darker and it starts to look more like an umber, the burnt umber. So let's do that. Let's just put, take some of this and put a tiny bit of burnt umber in there. Okay, so it's just getting darker and darker. And so that is this plus burnt umber. Now, it does sometimes look a little bit more like a clay, like almost a little more orangey. So if I want a color to be a little bit brighter, what if I were to try the burnt sienna with a little white? I'm thinking that might get me like that clay color. It'll look more pinky almost. And yeah, that looks like that. So I don't know if that would have occurred to you to mix white with burnt umber. Oh, I'm sorry, it's burnt sienna. Sorry, that was burnt sienna, the reddish looking color. And it gives us that clay color that we see there. Now, right here, I see kind of, and you can take these swatches and just hold them directly over. That looks pretty much like that. That looks like that. These colors look like that, really close enough, really pretty good. So the colors of the gold or brass metal, whatever it is, and the colors of the light fixtures themselves are these pale yellows. So then we start getting into just a couple of darker shadows here, and those start to go to the blue side. So really we could just take a little bit of, if it looks really gray, it's usually going to be Payne's gray, which I believe was this one. So if I add this Payne's gray to one of these brown mixes, of course, that's going to be super dark. I might add a little bit of the Titan Buff into that, and I get this gray. Wow. So that's like a really gray, really neutral. If I add a little bit more Titan to it, get it a little bit lighter. And, you know, there's different grays throughout. You can make this gray shift to a blue by adding a little bit of cobalt to it. You can shift it back to a little bit more brown or peachy by adding one of the browns back in. So what was this again? This was my, I had, so it's really just like brown and Payne's, whatever brown, it doesn't really matter. And then I added white, or no, I added Titan. The Titan makes it a little bit more of a muted color. If I had added white to that, it would have been a bluer color, which, you know, that's good too. But these grays are not, I don't think they're mixed with white. I think they are mixed, they're kind of muted with the yellow. They're kind of dirty grays, if you will. Okay. Then we do start getting into some bluer grays. So let's go ahead and make this gray that we have here a little bit bluer. All you need to do, and all of these are all subtle color shifts, just a little bit of cobalt, and let's see what happens to that. Swatch it out, see what it looks like. I mean, it seemed like I added a lot, but when you look at the swatch on here, it's not, it really looks exactly like that color right there. So it's like a steel gray. It's a very pretty steel gray color. Okay, and then maybe I want it to be a little bit more blue. Let's add just a little bit more and see what that looks like. A little bit more blue. Didn't really do much. How about a little more Payne's gray also? That made it a little bit darker. So, so this is this color plus cobalt. And then later I added more Payne's. And, you know, we're really getting all these beautiful grays that you see down there. And then, of course, we start getting into the more vibrant blues on the background. So I'm going to go to another page to start putting those in. And I want to get these greens and soft seafoam colors and blues on this page. Okay, so let's start with the really dark Payne's gray at the top. And I mean, I really do think it's straight up Payne's gray. And I am going to put that down on here, like for comparison's sake, so that we see all of them side by side, because color is relational. It's affected by what's next to it. Okay, so to that pile of Payne's gray now, this tone right in here, I get just a little bit lighter, but it's still grayish. So I'm gonna add the cobalt to it. And I had to add quite a bit. And this is why I want you to practice the color mixes, because it's hard to know how much to add. So I added quite a bit, and in person I can tell that's a beautiful color. In person I can tell that I changed it quite a bit. But honestly, by the time we would put resin on that, you're going to hardly notice it. So I would go just a little bit lighter. We might even add a little white to it to make it show a little bit more. Okay. Okay, now let's go lighter again. So I'm going to add white and more cobalt. And that's like a blue jean. It's like a blue jean blue. So we've got Payne's gray. And then we added cobalt. And then we added cobalt, more cobalt and white. Okay. These are some, oh, I don't know why. I just love these colors. They're really pretty, aren't they? Okay. So then it starts to become, believe it or not, a warmer blue from the yellow light of the light. So we need to use our phthalo blue green shade. Believe it or not, phthalo blue green shade is a warmer, it is a warmer blue. So I'm going to add that in with some white, just a little bit at a time, swatch it out, and you can always add more. So you can see the shift. Hopefully you can see the shift in temperature between these two, from cool to a little bit warmer. Okay, and that's starting to look like that. It's actually just a little bit lighter, so let's add a little bit more white to it. Okay, so that was this plus phthalo blue green shade and a little white. Okay, and we're starting to get there. We're starting to get to these colors, right? And it starts to look really kind of green over here, and a little and lighter. So of course I want less and less Payne's in there. The Payne's gray is pretty dark, and more of the phthalo blue. So I'm getting more white and more phthalo, but still just a bit of what the other color, so they all harmonize. Now I may have gotten just a little too much white in here. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then now I want to get just a little bit. Now I'm going to start going over into the green, which is even warmer. So as you get closer to yellow, the colors are warmer on the color wheel. So this is more phthalo. And white. And now to get it to kind of cross over into the green, you got a couple of options. You can add the Titan, or you can add the raw sienna, or both. So I would practice. Now the Titan is going to make it lighter still. So I'm going to try adding just a little bit of the raw sienna first. So it'll be kind of the same value, but it'll cross over into green. And let's see what that looks like first. Wow. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Look at that. That really starting to look like that. That's even yellower though. Wow, it's even yellower. So let's add a little more of it. And it's a little lighter, so I'm going to add some Titan also. Now the Titan might make it look too cool because there's a lot of white in it. So you have to kind of balance it. Actually, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. But we did kind of jump quite a bit, but I don't think I mind that. If I'm painting this wet into that blue, it's going to all blend and look really good. So let's write down what this was. Okay, this was I crossed over into green by adding raw sienna. And then I decided it needed to look lighter, so I added Titan buff. Okay, that's how I got that. And then of course I can keep going lighter for these lighter shades that you see there. Now a lot of times as I'm managing my palette, there's really not room for me to get nice pale shades on this. It would be too crammed together, and I know I would lose control very quickly. So I would go to another mixing surface, another plate to do that, and just start pulling from here and mixing on a different plate. That's all, you know. So I'm going to grab this green, and I want to go a lot paler now. So I'm going to grab a bunch of Titan and mix that into this. So see how I have more room now and I'm not worried about banging into those other puddles. So this might be a really good color. Oh, that is so pretty. That looks pretty good. I'm wondering what would happen if I put some cobalt into it. Let's just try that. It's going to look a little bit cooler. Cobalt and white with whatever green I had in my brush. Let's just see what that looks like. Oh, that is gorgeous. I love that color. So let's write that down. So this was just a little bit of cobalt and white. And this was just, I added more Titan. So that's how I'm starting to get into those really lighter values that you see there. And you can see they're even lighter still. You know, they're even lighter still, some of those values. So if I use a tiny bit of teal, like that color right there, this really pops. Look at that. There's just a couple of places where there's a pop of a brighter. So if I use the cobalt with teal and maybe some white, this alongside those other colors is going to really pop. See how it's a little more vibrant for that pop color. Now it's a little bit bluer, so I would just put a little more cobalt and white in here to make it a little bit bluer and a little more white. So it's a balancing act, you know, figuring out the exact amount or whatever, but you know, you don't have to be that close. And so for these really pretty soft greens, that's where we would incorporate some more yellow in there. So let's do that next. So we've got our lighter mixing plate, and we could just add Titan to these and raw sienna to these to get these beautiful yellows. Let's see how we're doing in the comments. No new comments. Okay. Isn't this fun, you guys? I love doing this. I love it. Okay, so what if I mix Titan with this? Ooh, look at that pretty color. I don't even know what color this is anymore. but it's a beautiful pale green. If I want it to be a little more sea foamy, here's another, I don't even know what this color is anymore. Ooh, that's pretty. It was ever this was with a little bit of white, whatever I had in my brush, Titan and white. And sometimes it gets to where you don't even know exactly what you've got, and that's okay. You know? So I'm not even going to write these down anymore. Then there's these really muted colors. So make sure you keep some light muted colors. So for those, I'm going to get white and raw sienna. Okay. And I'm going to add a little bit, go back to the Payne's Gray. That's going to really kind of mute quite a bit. So Payne's Gray with this makes a very kind of dirty, grayish yellow green. I know it looks real weird there, but when it's among all those colors, it really takes on a different look, and it'll make those colors prettier. Does that make sense? If you have some desaturated muted colors next to colors that are not as desaturated, they pop more. So don't forget to mix a little bit of Payne's Gray. So this was, I think it was Titan and white and Payne's Gray for that like muted color. And then what if I were to add a little bit of burnt sienna to this now? It'll get back into being kind of a clay color again. Like a beigey clay color. Maybe I want it a little bit cleaner. I could add white to it. So it's like a sand color, really. If I want it grayer, add a blue. So what if I add, if I add some burnt umber and some Payne's Gray at the same time, it'll really gray it down. So it's very neutral, but if that's too dark, just add white to that. So here's a bunch of white added to that. Now that's I like that color a lot. So remember that like the burnt umber and the Payne's Gray make the perfect gray black. If you add more Payne's Gray, it'll go, bluer, of course. But if you keep them really balanced and then add white, you get these really neutral grays, which you need some neutrals in this to balance out all this warm and, you got these really warm yellows and these really cool blues. You need some neutrals. All right. So let me write down what this was. This was burnt umber and Payne's Gray and white to get these really nice neutrals. This clay color, I added burnt sienna. If you want to get the clay color, use the red, the burnt sienna. Okay, so now I'd like to get some of these dark, rich colors up here. I want to go almost to purple. So I'm going to do that on a separate sheet. It's almost like we're going to go back to our Payne's Gray, these blues that we have. And what if we added more burnt sienna to that? What did I use again? I'm trying to remember. I don't really want to put quinacridone in there because it's so bright. But I want to see, these are perfect beachy colors too, by the way, aren't they? So if we got our, like this is our Payne's Gray with some blue in there. And if I add burnt sienna to that, this starts to get just a little bit purplish. Well, you can't really see it just yet. That's just dark. So let's add white to it. Okay, here it is with white added to it. It's really a cool gray. Okay, let me add a bunch more burnt sienna now. So there it is with a bunch more burnt sienna. It's almost like a very dirty wine color. It's really just brown. So you got to have a little bit more red in there to make it happen. So I'm just going to grab the tiniest bit of quinacridone. I have to have a pink or a red to get it over into being purple. And I really don't even want purple. I just want a subtle, almost wine color. Okay, so that was probably way too much. Actually, that's not bad. And you see that with those, it really looks like this. There's like some wine colors in there. And then what if I add more brown to this? Oh, I should have added burnt sienna. Actually, that wasn't too bad. I added the other. Oh, I don't really like that one. I meant to add, I added burnt umber. I meant to add burnt sienna. So, okay, let's go back. Payne's gray, quinacridone. Ooh, that's very purple. And burnt sienna. Add a little white to it. Interesting, huh? So it's Payne's, burnt sienna, and quinacridone. This is where I started adding the quin magenta. And I added more white here. So I'm trying to keep it from getting too purple. Of course, you can make beautiful purples if with that quinacridone in there, but if it gets to be too strong, it'll really take over. And you can tone the purple back down again with a brown, with a burnt sienna or a burnt umber. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. All right, here's a purple that's just a little more visible of a purple. And what if I add raw sienna to that? That's another way to neutralize purple, is with yellow. They complement each other on the color wheel, so they do tone each other down. So I made a purple from quinacridone and Payne's, and then I added raw sienna. And of course I could make that lighter by adding white to it. And then you'll probably see it a little bit better. And I mean, there's even brown right there. So anyway, what do you think? These don't look too terribly hard, do they? These colors? Tell me what you think, you guys. Do you guys have all these colors? I didn't really show a lot of yellows, did I? Oh yeah, I did. These were the yellows, yeah. Wow, we mixed a lot of colors. So I'll share these in the group too. All right, so let me get myself back up here. So what did you think? Was that helpful? I hope. Um, the other thing that we use when we transfer our tracer, our drawing onto the substrate, I really love using graphite paper. And I love the Richardson brand stuff. You can sometimes get it on Amazon. I have found that a lot of the carbon paper at Hobby Lobby is just garbage. It doesn't really work very well. But I would say that probably you're going to want to tape your tracer onto the wooden panel. And if you can leave it attached, it's going to be a good idea to leave it attached in case you want to retrace some of those lines back on later and put it back in place again. Does that make sense? Leaving it taped to the top so that you can fold it over, paint, and then later on, we could paint the background, all those pretty blues and stuff that we see in the background. And I'm going to walk you through the painting, of course. And then we could let that dry and flip it back over and trace the foreground, the foreground chandelier on top of the background that we've painted. So it's like two major steps. There's the background and the chandelier with all the little fun dots where we get really loose and have a lot of fun. So, but if you could manage to put your tracer attached to your substrate so that it's attached and you don't take it back off of there again, I think it'll work out better. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, any questions, you guys? This was our getting started. I'm so glad that you are here. I hope that you all are going to paint this painting. I think you're going to love it. It's going to be so much fun adding crystals and glass to this. Oh, I want to show you some crystals that I got. Yeah, it's always more colors than we think, right, Teresa? Helpful, and I get to practice mixing with different colors than I have used together before. Oh, good. I didn't realize that. Good, good, good. Okay, let me show you the crystals that I got. I don't even know that I'm necessarily going to use these, but I got these a while ago. And this is another reason why I think you're going to want to do a large version. But look at these crystals. Look at this. These are from, and you can get these right now, hopefully at your Hobby Lobby. These are from Hobby Lobby. Look how gorgeous they are. I don't think I can make myself full frame because then the mic will be off because the mic's associated with the first camera. But aren't these pretty? I got a bunch of these. I think they're all the same. They're $3.99 and I think I got them 40% off. If I go put this over here on this with the tracer, of course, if I'm going to use these, I have to detach all that hardware and stuff. But I probably could, put some of these on here, right? Look at that. And so that's the other thing. Now, if you look at this was an AI image that I created. And these crystals are all different sizes, which I think is fine. We don't want to we want to be loose and have fun with this painting. So wait, let me make it bigger. Because it's real easy, and I know because I did this painting in person a few times, it's real easy to get crazy detailed and not have fun with a painting like this because it's a chandelier and there's a lot of tricky things going on. You have to keep it loose. It's okay to let these crystals be different sizes and shapes, okay? It still looks great, okay? So you can decide, well, maybe I'm not going to paint it that exact size. I'm going to kind of keep this long teardrop size in mind if you're going to buy these and do it this way. But I'm going to have to detach all this stuff to do it, I think. But anyway, that's one way of doing it if you want to do it with these crystals. If you don't want to do it with these crystals, these would look great with resin on them, by the way. But if you can't get a hold of these, we can certainly use glass. That's not going to be a problem. We can use Dollar Tree bowls and glasses and things like that. Which department did I get those crystals? They are acrylic, Linda. Great question. Those are acrylic, and I got them in the aisle with clear ornaments. At my Hobby Lobby, I think it was one of the first aisles with hanging ornaments, Christmas tree ornament. Oh, I know. Where they had the Christmas trees on display. It was the aisle right next to that, where they happen to have aisle after aisle of ornaments. It's the ornament aisle. Oh, you can't see my face. I'm glad, because I just made a very silly face. Oh, wait. It's the ornament aisle. Yeah. And who knows, maybe if you go on Amazon, Amazon might have more teardrop crystals, oval crystals, who knows, right? I think AB crystals would look really great with this. You know, I've got some things still. I've got these stars. You know, I would look on Amazon, you know, depending on, you know, how much you want to invest in this. But wouldn't these look stunning on here? The AB stuff would look just totally fabulous on here, I think. You know, AB crystals. Again, I don't have the screens the right size. But have a look around and see what you want to do. Yeah. All right, you guys. Oh my goodness, we're at an hour and 11 minutes. So I plan on working on this little by little with you guys. Usually I go live at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Today was a little bit different because I had an errand to run, but I am waiting on my 20 by 20 substrate to come in, and I don't know what day that's going to come in. So I will let you know when I have that prepped and ready to go, and when I'm going to start demonstrating the first background layer of the painting. And I'm sure that first session that we do, we'll do these color mixes again, and we'll start painting in big, bold brush strokes of the whole background. It'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do that with you, and I will see you then. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out, and see you on the next video. Bye.